In this video, I'm going to give you 6 strategies that will help you solve any constants question you come across on the SAT. And strategy 1 is simply to use Desmos. On questions like this one, for example, it is asking us about a possible value of A in which the equation has 2 integer solutions. That should be pretty easy to visualize, right? So we pull up Desmos and we put in our equation, and then just make sure to hit add slider. If this doesn't show up, you can also just type A equals and then choose a value. And we're trying to find a possible value for A. And it tells us that A is greater than 0. So let's just start with any number greater than 0. We'll say 1. And remember, we want 2 solutions. And a solution for a quadratic is anytime the parabola touches the x-axis. So right now, this is not working, right? So what we can do here is we can take our slider and start moving it around. And you might be thinking, well, I guess there's a ton of options for A. But remember, it says 2 integer solutions. So we want to make sure that we have 2 integer solutions here. So if I go to like 8, oh, we actually have 2 integer solutions. I got lucky. But if we went to like 9, we could see these are not integers. So 9 would not work. What about 10? 10 would not work. But yeah, basically we just wanted to hit 2 integer solutions. It looks like 7 would also work. So either of those answers is going to be a correct option. So I'm just going to go with 7 since that's what we're hanging out on. My answer is 7. Here's another example. In this case, it says the parabola intersects this line at only 1 point. So this again should be something that we can visualize. So I'm going to pull up Desmos and I'm going to put in both of my equations here. So 2y equals 4.5. And then the other one was negative 4x squared plus bx. And again, we got to add that slider b. So if it intersects the parabola at only 1 point, since we have a horizontal line, we are literally looking for the vertex to touch the line. And you can see we're already getting close there if we didn't already get it. Did we get it? Boom, we got it. An easy way to check would be, is y, or is if 2y equals 4.5, then y should equal 2.25, which would be half of y, right? And that is indeed the case. So it looks like the value of b would be 6. So our answer here is going to be 6. And again, with both of these, the key is you just want to play with your slider until you get what you're looking for, right? Visually. It's even easier when you have answer choices because you can just plug in those answer choices. You don't even have to use the slider. Strategy 2 is going to be to plug stuff in. Now, through trial and error, as you're working through practice problems, you're going to realize that certain questions are not Desmosable, if you will. And this would be one of them. One strategy that you can utilize is simply to plug stuff in. So in this case, we're given a table with some values, including our constants, and we are given the slope. And since we know the slope is 2, we can actually set it equal to 2. And just to remind you, the slope equation is going to be the difference in 2 y values divided by the difference in 2 corresponding x values. I'm going to use these points here. That way I only have one unknown that I'm solving for. So I'll say 11 minus 7, that's my difference in y, divided by, make sure it corresponds, k minus 3. And then that is equal to 2 because that's our slope, right? That's the slope formula. So if we work this out real quick, we could multiply by k minus 3 to get 2k minus 3. And that's going to equal 11 minus 7, which would also just be 4. I'll go ahead and divide by 2 so that 2 equals k minus 3. Add that 3 to both sides, and now 5 equals k. So I know what k is. And then we could do the same thing for n, right? And we could either use these 2 or we could just use these 2. Let's just use these 2 again. So then our difference in y is going to be 7 minus n. Difference in x is going to be 3 minus 12. That's going to be equal to 2 once again. Multiply by 3 minus 12 to get rid of the fraction. What is 3 minus 12? Negative 9. 2 times negative 9 is going to be negative 18. That's going to be equal to 7 minus n. Subtract that 7 from both sides. 18 minus 7 is going to be negative 25. If negative n is negative 25, then n is 25, right? And then finally, k plus n would be 5 plus 25, which is 30. So our answer is 30. Go ahead and pause the video, try this one on your own first. Again, remember, we just want to plug stuff in. So for this one, it actually ends up being a sneaky little system of equations.
Sneaky, sneaky, sir.
It's because normally if we run across this kind of situation where both of our coefficients are constants, but they give us 2 points, we can plug both points in. Now we've got a system of equation. That said, I'm noticing a 0. And anytime you see a 0 and a point, you should get excited because it's going to eliminate one of the constants for us, meaning we can solve for the other constant just by plugging that 1 point in. So if we plug that 1 point in, 0, negative 3, all of a sudden, 0 times a is going to be nothing. Then we plug in our negative 3 for y. So we have negative 3k equals 6. And now we're solving for k, right? Divide by negative 3, and k should equal negative 2. Now, what's it asking us? What is the value of k? So we actually already solved this one, just like that. All right, so pause the video, try this one as well. It's another plug it in type question. And this one's definitely a little bit scarier looking. At first, it looks like we have a quadratic, but no, this is not ax squared. This is a to the x. So some weird stuff going on here. But let's try to plug in what we can and figure something out. The first bit of information that they give us is the function itself. And then they tell us the y-intercept of a different function, f of x, this one, minus 12. Simple enough. We just need to basically think of this and then have the negative 12 in there, right? And remember I said get excited when you see 0? If it gives us a y-intercept, it's giving us a point where x equals 0. So let's actually plug that in. Y is the function itself. So we would have negative 75 over 7 equal to negative a to the x. We know that x is 0, so negative a to the 0 plus b. Importantly, we need to know that anything to the 0th power is 1. So even though it's not going to make this completely disappear, it is going to give us an actual number, negative 1. Oh, and I almost forgot my my minus 12 here. So anyway, we've got negative 1. We also have negative 12. So that becomes a total of negative 13. So b minus 13 is going to be equal to negative 75 over 7. And from here, we just need to add 13 to the left side to find out what b is. And let's actually just use Desmos for this. Because if we put in negative 75 over 7 plus 13, it's going to give us this hideous decimal. But we also have this guy right here. Just click this button. Turns it into a fraction. So now we know b equals 16 over 7. All right, so let's write that down. b equals 16 over 7. And then let's just put in the other piece of information we have in order to get a, because that's what we're supposed to figure out, the value of a. So it says the product, that means multiply the product of a and b. So a times 16 over 7 equals 320 over 7. To get rid of that 16 over 7, we just divide 320 over 7 divided by 16 over 7. It's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, or again, we can just take advantage of Desmos, which I would prefer to do. So let's literally just put this in. Again, we're doing 320 over 7, and then we have to divide all of that by 16 over 7 to get a by itself. And then it gives us a nice round number, a equals 20. So our answer here is going to be 20. Strategy 3 is to apply rules for infinite and no solutions. And for these questions, you just have to know one simple rule. If you're dealing with either infinite solutions like we are here, or no solutions, regardless, your equations are going to have the same slope and they're going to have the same ratio between their coefficients. Usually we can get away with just focusing on the slope. So for this one, if we have 2x, in order to get to 2x, a would need to equal 2, and that's it. Pause the video and try this one on your own first, but it's the same concept. If we are dealing with, in this case, no solutions, we're going to have the same slope. So again, the only part of this that we're concerned about is the part that's attached to x, because that is our slope, right? So let's just isolate this and we'll isolate this. 3kx equals 48 over 17 x. We can divide by x to get rid of these guys. And even though this is scary looking, we're just going to use Desmos. Because basically we'd need to divide by 3 to get k by itself. So 48 over 17 divided by 3 is 16 over 17. So our answer, k equals 16 over 17. Strategy 4 is just to find x or y. Occasionally, you're just going to be asked to solve for a point, and these are almost not even constant questions because at the end of the day, you're just solving for x, right? In this case, or maybe in another case, you'd be solving for y. We could actually use Desmos for this as well. So let's pull up Desmos and throw this in. And I'm just going to use y instead of h of x here. So I've got my parabola here. And if we used Desmos, we could graph it, and we know that our first point was 0, 0. So our second point is going to be t0, aka 8, 0. And that's one way that we could do it. But this one, there's actually a really cool shortcut. Because one of our x-intercepts is at 0, 0, and the vertex is always halfway between our two x-intercepts, this is in vertex form. So we know that our vertex is 4, negative 32. Basically, if we started at 0 and we went to 4, we would go another 4 to get to the other intercept. And then we would know that it's 8 that way. That would require a little bit more knowledge of vertex form and everything, but definitely going to save you a few seconds if you didn't want to go the Desmos route. Strategy 5 is a really cool one. You actually get to choose your own numbers. And for these, I really do mean choosing your own numbers. So in this question, for example, they tell us that A and C are positive constants. So I can literally choose any positive constant that I want for A and C. So let's do that. And let's combine this with Desmos as well. So if I pull up Desmos, we're going to put in our equation and we're going to add sliders for all. Whoops, capital X. There we go. Add sliders for all. And again, they should just be positive constants. It automatically sets them to 1, so we're good. And how many times does it intersect the equation y equals a plus c? Well, let's write that one as well. Y equals a plus c. Looks like it intersects it twice. So our answer is 2. Choice C. Strategy 6 is to match up your two expressions. Now, we were sort of already employing this strategy a bit when we were doing the no solutions and infinite solutions because we were just focusing on the coefficients of x, since we know that no solutions and infinite solutions have the same slope. For these types of equivalent expression problems, we're going to more or less do the same thing. We're just going to make sure that we match up and focus on whatever it is they want us to. In this case, b. So if we look at this expression, we see that b is attached to x. So I'm only going to worry about stuff that's attached to x up here, because all of the coefficients of x are going to have to be equal to each other on both sides of the equation. So while I could FOIL out this whole thing, instead, I'm just going to be lazy about it, and I'm going to say 3x times 6 plus 19x times 23, or negative 23. Again, it's just because that's what b is attached to. And in fact, we could also just ignore the x's at this point because we're going to divide by x at some point, right? So my answer is just going to be 3 times 6 plus 19 times negative 23. Pull up good old Desmos for that. 3 times 6 plus 19 times negative 23. And our answer is negative 419. And that's it. This one, definitely looking a little bit more complicated, but I would encourage you to pause the video and try it on your own first. Again, remember, we just want to focus on matching up parts of the equation that must be equal to each other. So in this case, it's asking about A, B. And you might be thinking, well, let's find out what A is, and then we'll find out what B is, and we'll multiply them together. Or we could just find out where AB exists and see if that works. So if I look at the left side of the equation, the only time that we're going to get AB is when we multiply AX times negative BX, which would be negative ABX squared. That means on the right side of the equation, all I care about is this negative 9x squared. So you might be thinking, okay, negative abx squared equals negative 9x squared. But we're not quite done because we need to make sure that we have all the x squareds from the left side of the equation as well. And the only time that we're going to get that is when we multiply 5x squared times 3. So it'll be 15x squared. Now, from here, let's do a couple of things. First, let's get rid of the x squareds. We'll divide the whole equation by x squared so that we don't have to worry about that anymore. And now we just have to subtract 15 from the right side. Negative AB equals, what's negative 9 minus 15? Negative 24, which means AB equals 24. Boom. That's the power of the matching trick. All right, last matching question here. Go ahead and try this on your own first, but here we go. So this one is looking a little bit different, but it's actually the same concept. We want to get the left side to look like the right side so that we can just match up the parts of the equation that look like each other, right? So big difference here is we have one fraction versus these two fractions. This actually just goes back to the basics of adding fractions together. In order to add fractions, you need a common denominator. Right now, these guys do not have common denominators. But in order to give them common denominators, we just multiply one of them by the denominator of the other. So basically, 2 over x minus 2 would get multiplied by x plus 5 on the top and the bottom. And the reason we're allowed to do this is that anything divided by itself is 1. So if we multiply this fraction by 1, we're really not changing anything because anything times 1 is itself, right? So this obviously can combine into this big fraction, and then we FOIL this out. 2x plus 5, 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 5 is 10. So that is part of our new numerator. And then this is going to go through the same operation, except for we're going to multiply by the denominator of the other fraction. Again, this is creating that common denominator. And in case you didn't notice already, yeah, it's going to be the same denominator as we see on the right side, which is going to come in handy. So 3 over x plus 5 would get multiplied by x minus 2 and x minus 2. So 3x minus 6. And all of this stuff is in the numerator of our new combined fraction. And we know that our denominator is going to be x plus 5 times x minus 2, which again is the same as this fraction on the right side. So at this point, we could actually ignore it. We're going to say ignore the bottom. Basically, we're multiplying everything by the bottom so that we're just going to be focusing on the top portion now. So all we have left to do is to simplify this, combine our like terms. 3x plus 2x is 5x. 10 minus 6 is 4. And now you can see that we're matching because if 5x plus 4 equals rx plus t, then r is 5 and t is 4. And then it says, what's the value of RT? That would be 5 times 4, also known as 20. And that's it.